It's a sad irony that one of the things we want to have least is also one of the things that we're most efficient at providing. Welcome to my presentation on the food bank. When I started this series of videos, I was keen to look at organisations and individuals that make a difference in our community. And I'm starting by looking at the Wirral Food Bank. It's where I myself volunteer, and it's such an important organisation and makes such a great impact. I was lucky enough to be able to talk to Richard Roberts, who's the manager of Wirral Food Bank, and I got him to explain some of the thinking and some of the strategies that lie behind its work. Well, hello Richard, and thank you so much for seeing us and telling us about the food bank. I'd like to start, if I may, by asking what types of situations people face that make them need to access the food bank. Is there a typical food bank user, would you say?
I wouldn't say there's a typical food bank user. It could be any situation or any circumstance. Our slogan, for want of a better word, is emergency food for people in crisis. And a crisis could be an unexpected bill, a large debt, unexpected expenses. And those situations change from year to year. If you had approached us prior to the cost of living crisis, the biggest reason people would come to a food bank is because there's been a change in their benefits and they need to apply for new benefits, etc. But now the biggest reason people are coming to us is the cost of living crisis. People are telling us they just cannot afford to buy the basics.
And are there different options, would you say, that were open to people in that situation? How, for example, would you apply?
Yeah, absolutely. In 2018, the trustees and myself came to the view that we didn't just want to perpetuate the need of food banks on the Wirral. We don't want just to open more centres and have them as a way of life and to have them institutionalised. So we, in partnership with Citizens Advice Wirral, developed a project called Food Bank Plus, and that is still running today. We started off with one CAB advisor, and the way we do that, we commission Citizens Advice to provide a dedicated benefit and advice service to our clients to come to the food bank. Somebody will come to a food bank. They will have already been assessed by another organisation. The biggest organisation that will issue a voucher is Wirral Council. They'll phone Wirral Council up, explain that their crisis situation, be it debt, be it unexpected expenses. Wirral Council will issue a food bank voucher, and that person will then come to the food bank. And our volunteers then, as part of their discussion and befriending of that individual, will say, what's brought you here today? And they may well say, I've got a debt or I've got a benefit issue. We will then offer them the service of Food Bank Plus. And the key thing is, we don't just give a telephone number to say, phone that number. We say, we will phone you back to discuss your issues in more detail, or there is a Food Bank Plus advisor here today, do you want to see them? And as a consequence of that, the underlying issues can mostly be addressed. And we find about 72% of people that come to the food bank and go through Food Bank Plus don't need to come to the food bank again. And also, since the cost of living crisis, the government has issued funds to local authorities, Wirral Council being one of them. And Wirral Council are very innovative, I have to say, in getting that money out to the community groups as quickly as possible. And part of that funding through Citizens Advice or Food Bank Plus, for example, if somebody says, I have a large electricity or gas bill and I pay by direct debit, through application to Wirral Council, that debt can be written off, and Wirral Council could also support the payment of those direct debits for the next 3 months. So that takes that burden away because of the fuel crisis. Equally, Wirral Council can issue fuel vouchers for people on prepayment cards. And I'm sure people will be aware of the press coverage regarding prepayment meters, etc. And again, Wirral Council, through those funds, can help that individual. Ironically, in 2018, Wirral Council set up a group to do with Brexit.
Okay.
Because they feared there would be a food shortage as a result of Brexit. That kind of morphed into the COVID emergency task group come 2020.
Yeah.
So we already had that infrastructure in place. And during the height of COVID, we met virtually 3 days a week. And instead of every organisation working separately to provide food, as a food bank, the trustees agreed to transfer their food stocks through to Wirral Council. And all that food was coordinated through one central point, distributed through taxis and drivers, etc. And that relationship has developed.
So that
continued.
Seems part of the success of Wirral Food Bank then, is that you have a close working
Absolutely.
relationship. I wanted to ask Richard about some of the ways in which Food Bank has adapted and changed as the community's needs have adapted and changed.
Our BAME community, we provide halal food parcels.
Right.
And instead of just thinking, well, we know best, let's put something together.
You're trying to provide.
Absolutely. We work with those organisations to say, from the means of we've got, i.e. ambient food, tinned food, dried food, what would be suitable to provide that would be sufficient.
So in many ways, the food bank has to be very alert to what's needed out in the community.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. We try and cater for all eventualities, but it is difficult at times. But people may come to say that I've got a dietary requirement, I'm celiac, I need gluten-free. We provide gluten-free parcels, and people who are diabetic, although we don't provide specific parcels, we ensure that when the food is given out, people can check to make sure they're suitable. The other thing we do are called kettle packs. And a lot of people are finding themselves being moved into bed and breakfast accommodation where there's no cooking facilities, but they've got a kettle. It's pointless giving somebody a Frey bento steak and kidney pie if all they've got is a kettle. So we'll provide pot noodles and pasta that can just be used with hot water and rehydrated. And again, we provide those to the community as well.
So are those the sort of biggest challenges you think you have to face to adapt to the differing needs that people have? Or?
I think from that point of view, we're probably okay because we're well versed. I think the biggest challenge we have at the moment is making sure that we are keeping up with the demand. Just for the last month alone, in March last year to March 22, we're up by 115%.
Gosh.
Since September to the March period, which is our financial year, we're up by 63% on demand. Our donations are up by 3%. And the people of Wirral are doing an amazing job in maintaining those donations because they're facing the cost of living crisis, as indeed everybody else is. So we need to see where can we get that shortfall from.
And is the bulk of what you're getting from supermarket donations or other sources? How are you? Yeah,
most of the food is donated by the public, and they come through various channels. So we have arrangements at all the Asda stores on Wirral, Sainsbury's in Upton, Tesco stores, and people can donate the food at drop-off points. So that's one of our biggest source. Local churches, again, is they're part of our local community, and people are engaged to collect food, etc. Schools also provided, especially harvest and Christmas. And we're very reliant on those organisations, but we do have to buy food as well. And we are blessed because people are very supportive financially of the food bank. And again, we're kind of stewards of that money, and we will have to buy food on a regular basis. And for example, we have an agreement with Morrison's Wholesale, and every week a large juggernaut will arrive at the warehouse.
I've seen that, big crates.
Big crates, 13 cages at times, 1,000 tins of fish, and whatever. So we have to make sure that food is there. But At the moment, we've never run out, and we also have a view to 4 weeks hence to make sure we've got the stocks that we need to support individuals.
Thank you.
And it's not just food, it's toiletries,
Yes.
feminine hygiene, all those products, because again, it's about the dignity of the person. It's not just the food. It's if you were in that situation, what would you want? So we make sure we've got toiletries, and we have a great relationship with Levers. They're a great supporter of the food bank. An organisation called Smileys in Bromborough. If we need UHT milk, we ring them up. We were there yesterday, and they say, come down and collect a pallet of milk. So the local community really supports its local food bank.
People using the food bank must have other needs as well, energy being a big one at the moment. What types of ways within the community, within the food bank's work?
Yeah, absolutely. People will come to us and they say, we can't afford to cook the food, or we've got no gas, we've got no electricity. Wirral Food Bank itself, prior to COVID, we used to be able to issue fuel vouchers ourselves to enable people to top up on a prepayment meter. But we took the decision to move away from that directly because we wanted to be a food bank rather than a fuel bank. But we then directly involved ourselves with the Wirral Council, and they funded the scheme. So if anybody wants fuel now for a prepayment meter, they will contact Wirral Council and they will get a voucher. In the winter periods, it's £49, in summer it's 30. But that's a real challenge for people.
Is that a good take up on that?
Extremely,
Yes.
yeah. Obviously, it's not something that is a bottomless pit of money, but it is there to help people overcome it. And the idea will be that also we have an organisation called Energy Project Plus. They specialise in fuel support, and we also refer them into that project and that charity, and they're based at our busiest food bank sites. And the question you would always ask is, we can provide the fuel support, but why do you need it? What's the issue?
It's the long-term process,
absolutely,
isn't it?
And then it's understanding the underlying reasons, because it's an emergency situation. The cost of living crisis, the government enabled everybody to receive, I think it was £66 a month. If you're on direct debit, that will automatically apply to your bank account. For a prepayment meter, you will physically get a paper voucher that you have to take along to the post office. And the Northwest, by far, was the area that most of those vouchers had not been redeemed.
Gosh.
I think about 30 to 40%.
So there are unclaimed vouchers out there.
And Wirral itself is an area that people have not claimed their vouchers.
So if there are people watching this who are aware of those who need to do that,
contact your utility provider,
right.
Contact Citizens Advice, contact Energy Project Plus. And we did a small survey at one of our busiest food banks. Most people knew about the scheme, but a lot hadn't had the vouchers, and they were finding it very difficult to get in touch with their utility provider. So if you know somebody who's in that position, contact your utility provider.
That's really important.
Very important. Very important.
Thank
Yeah,
you for that.
absolutely. Yeah.
Right. So Richard, if people are watching this video and they feel that they would like to get involved or they would like to do more to help with this really important work, what would you say to them? What advice would you give at this stage?
Yeah. In the schools, pupils in the schools, if you want to arrange a collection for a particular period of time, please do that. On our website, we always publish the food items that we're in greatest need of. Contact us and we're happy to support you there. If you'd like us to come into your school and present at an assembly or something, happy to do that. But I think the biggest thing I would ask people is to be aware of the pressures and the issues people are facing in their community. It could be a child, a fellow colleague you're sitting next to in class. It's not down to different areas of the county or of the peninsula. People could be affected in whatever community. But encourage your parents, if they're shopping, put an extra tin of food into our collection boxes, because every tin makes a difference. And be aware of the challenges that people are facing.
Are there any special initiatives which people need to watch out for in the community?
Yeah, absolutely. Tesco's, we have a 3-day collection every Christmas, just before December, and that's when all the Tesco stores in Wirral, so that's Tesco Bidston, Tesco Heswell, and Tesco Rock Ferry, collect food over 3 days, and public are encouraged to donate food. And last year we collected around 7 tons of food. Now, if you want to visualize 7 tons of food, that's about 7 transit vans full of food. And we ask for specific items, and those items then see us right through for a few months. So get involved in that, look in the local press, etc.
And I'm listening to you talking, and I want to contribute to those things. Is there a list somewhere of things? Is there an updated list?
Go onto our website. Go onto our website and look at the volunteer and donate tab, and the latest shopping list is on there.
That's important, so you don't get a stuff.
That's right.
You target what's needed.
It's great to get donations, but beans and pasta is perhaps not our greatest need at the moment. We have a mountain of beans, but they're great products to have, and we will support organisations that perhaps we won't, whose clientele or groups may not necessarily approach a food bank. We have one large organisation that we work with, and we just give them a supply of beans and pasta. And their colleagues and the people that use that organisation, if they're short of a meal at night, they can take grab a tin of beans and some pasta. So that food is being used.
Well, thank you, Richard, and thank you for watching. I am truly humbled by the work that the food bank does and the commitment that people show to it. Not just the volunteers and those that work for it, but also throughout the local community who give food, who give money. Please look at the links underneath this video if you feel you're able to support. There's always a need, and next time you're in your local supermarket, make sure you put something in that food bank box to really help and support. Thank you. Please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel. I will try and bring more of these community projects to you. In the meantime, thank you.